Cutting Through the Bullshit podcast with Brittany and Betsy. Welcome back, beautypreneurs. Let's get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can become the best assistant. Brittany and I have a few key points when it comes to being a great assistant in your salon, starting with a few foundations. Britt, what do you think a strong assistant looks like?
Betsy, it is so safe to say that assistants are the backbone of our salon. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree.
And I think that the first place maybe we should start before we really dive into what a strong assistant looks like is we live in a merit-based society, which often will breed the highest performers. And at any salon, if we see these rock star stylists who we all aspire to be like, often they've gone through these different levels throughout their career that kept heightening them, taking them higher and higher. I think there's something happening culturally right now. Betsy and I, we talk about this a lot where, it's almost like people don't want to accept that the hard work is there. And it almost seems like a lot of what we are being sold on is that we should work smarter, not harder. But I think we need to be really clear about this. You guys, life is hard. Being an assistant is hard. Being a stylist is hard. You guys, it's all hard. Choose your hard. And I think that's what our message is today before we do dive into what a great assistant looks like. An assistant who is, more likely to succeed than one that's not. I think the one thing we all need to do is accept that an entry-level position is often there because it's a stepping stone for us to get to that next spot. If you guys are listening and you're feeling stuck, I want you to know that you can never be stuck if you see where you're going next. Sometimes we need to realize all the growth we have had, whether you're starting in a new salon or you just graduated cosmetology school. But this is really like the stuff that Cosmo School or some salon owners don't always outline or teach us. And assisting really is that fundamental stepping stone that's going to get you to the next spot. So that being said, I think you guys, we have to accept right now, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And that's okay.
Not everything that's easy is worth it.
Ain't that the truth, Bets? I believe in this so wholeheartedly that the experience you go through and endure as an assistant, it really can begin to shape you so quickly and prepare you for what you're up against next. One of those core foundations is do I know my place and do I know my purpose? And if you don't, you are gonna learn today.
That is right. You gon' learn today.
Amen. Let's get real about this. Your place as an assistant, and this is okay. This isn't something that's bad, but it's at the bottom.
Yeah, it is. I think that's when assistants start learning our ways as stylists so they can start putting in the work in order to get there.
I agree. I think the most inspired I've been by an assistant is really an assistant who's very hungry to learn and hungry to hustle. Whereas we've all come across assistants before where there's really been no sense of gratitude for the job role itself. And you guys, being an assistant, it's a task-oriented job role. It is not very big picture. And that's where, having a roadmap or starting to understand where you are and where you want to go comes into play. But this is the reality. If the tasks that are outlined in your job role are not complete, you did not do your job. And often I think it's easy to see the stylist, it's easy to see the salon owner, and they're making a lot more money than an assistant. They have a lot more flexibility. They have a lot more creative opportunities that come their way. And those are all the reasons that we really got into the beauty industry in the first place, and graduating cosmetology school and being told that we need to clean the toilet, we need to take out the trash, we need to sweep the floor, we have to check out guests, we have to grab coffee, we need to check on everyone and everything in that salon and make sure that we're of service to everything around us. I think that it's easy to lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing. And Betsy, what would you say is the number one takeaway that maybe you've had from being an assistant? How did it propel you and prepare you for what was next?
For me, I think it made me very humble. It definitely humbled me. I I also think that, and I know that this is something that you're going to touch on too, Britt, is never saying no really propelled me forward.
Such a biggie.
Yep. Never saying no really propelled me forward because it showed my employer, it showed the stylist I was working under that I was hungry to learn and willing to do anything it took for me to get to the next step.
And I think this is the question that I think everyone should always ask themselves when given the opportunity to say yes to something or no. Have I earned the luxury to say no?
And as assistants, we haven't. Even as young stylists.
Yeah, we have a long ways to go. You know, are we delusional about how great we think we are? Or are we really measuring our ability to perform based on how efficiently we're able to get the job done? And as an assistant, this is something that I have stumbled across before, is there are people who want so much for themselves. And while it's ambitious, at the end of the day, if you are not there adding value to your job role and adding value to the salon and the staff and the business itself, you're of no value and you are replaceable.
Let's say that a little bit louder again. We are all replaceable.
We're all replaceable.
We're all replaceable. So you need to find the value to make you unreplaceable.
Yeah, I think you have to bring it. And when you're proving yourself, when you're starting at the bottom, that's really the greatest opportunity that you are going to have, because it can be a make or break with the environment that you're in. Am I worthy of continuing onward with these people? Or in some cases, you guys, there are exceptions to the rule. And I have come across very talented, naturally gifted assistants who have actually had to work a lot less hard than others. And that's just a fact of life. There's always going to be people who are better or worse or stronger or better than us, right? And I think that when we stop comparing ourselves, or we stop saying, you know, Susie Q has been an assistant in a shorter time than me, but why is she being promoted? Why is she getting a chair? Worry about yourself. As an assistant, the best thing that we can do, Betsy, I agree with you, never say no when given the choice, and hold yourself accountable to your tasks, your job role, being of servitude, and really learning how to be resilient. Betsy just touched on this, where being an assistant is one of the most humbling experiences. And as a salon owner, I still will take out the trash. I did it then. I did it as an assistant. I do it as a salon owner. If I'm scrubbing a toilet, you definitely can scrub a toilet. And this is where checking the ego comes into play, right, you guys? But learning how to be resilient and learning how to say, this is really tough, but I'm going to move through it and I'm going to come out the other end stronger. That is part of the assistant experience that you cannot skip over. If you're unwilling to go through how tough it is physically, mentally, and emotionally as an assistant, I think you're going to find yourself having a very hard time, whether like you leave and you try to be a stylist on your own. Without that foundation, it's going to be very tough to build out a clientele.
It's okay that we as assistants have to do the hard shit. We have to do it. We just have to get through it.
And this is what I want a lot of assistants to understand. Whether you're graduating onward to becoming a junior stylist, or you're making that move from more of a junior level stylist into, you know, an intermediate level stylist, and then into a senior stylist, and then maybe even to an educator or a salon owner or somebody who's that of influence. It's always hard. It's always hard.
Always. And scary. Hard and scary.
And scary. Hard and scary. So I think that accepting that we have to toughen up, doing these tough things, they make us so much stronger and prepared for that next role. So that's it. I think this is really key. Like, this is one of the foundations, right? Is like, learn how to become resilient. You can do that by understanding your place, understanding your purpose. And you guys, if you're feeling like you're not getting anything out of your experience, it's one of two things. It's either your perception or the experience and the reality that is true. And I can't sit here on this podcast right now with you and Betsy and tell you which one it is, but I have definitely come across both. I have come across assistants where they've been delusional about what their capabilities really are. And if you're wondering, is that me? Do I not know where I actually stand in my career? Maybe go to your boss and say, hey, I really want to understand like where I am. Are you able to complete tasks with little to no help? Are you able to seamlessly support a lot of the staff in the salon with no drama, no ego, and able to just give of yourselves? And after we've practiced a lot of these tasks and we've gotten them done without being babysat, without the support or the constant coaching or constant mentorship, those are things that you have to be able to just do. Cleaning, washing dishes, mixing color, those are task-oriented things, right? This is a task-oriented entry-level position. And I think it's really important for us to understand that until we've mastered doing those tasks without being babysat, without being asked 5 times, without the stylist being upset that something isn't getting done, we're not in a position to ask for more responsibility. And we're really not in a position to learn more until we've mastered those things.
I think that leads into this next key point that we're going to dive into. As an assistant, you're not entitled to anything.
Yeah, I think this is the most important thing that any human could really grasp. We're not entitled to anything, right, Bets?
Right.
I do a lot of interviewing, and Betsy's witnessed this as well at a variety of salons, but the number one thing, I want education. And that's great. I offer education. Betsy, you've offered education. We've all worked in salon environments where there has been education offered. And what an assistant has to understand is you're not entitled to that education unless you have proven that you can also offer something else. Education is such a huge opportunity for growth, and with any learning curve comes more responsibility. Why should a salon invest their time, their resources, their money into somebody who's not invested in learning how to do the job first? So my advice here is master the basics of your job role and then move forward in assuming that new responsibility of taking on education. But until we know the flow of the room, until we understand who needs what when, until we're prepared with the daily schedule, when there's nothing to do, there's always something to do. That's like another key point, right? Is like a lot of the times we'll see people that are not as proactive. They're like, well, I cut the foils, I did the laundry, there's nothing to do. Wrong. There is always something to do.
Always. You can always find something to do. Clean shelves, reorganize color, take inventory, prepare for the next day, whatever the case is.
And you guys, if you're really stumped where maybe like you haven't learned yet how to be so proactive because you're still learning the flow of the salon, that's when you should ask. Instead of saying there's nothing left for me to do, I would challenge you to ask your boss, your manager, a stylist, what can I do right now? So when you're an assistant, you are the backbone to the salon. What does that look like?
I'm going to interject here, Britt, because you and I have both been assistants and we have worked with assistants. And the truth really is, like you said, they are the backbone to the salon. You know, you're expected to be flexible. And what we mean by this is that being an assistant is not a 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting everybody else's needs before your own. You're making sure that the flow of the room is going. You're making sure that Susie Q has enough foils for her client. You're making sure that the color is always in stock just in case somebody needs something. You're running to get coffee. You're running to check clients out. You are the backbone of the salon. Without assistants, guys, like we as stylists, we as owners, the salon cannot run without you.
Absolutely. And if it is running, it's a really tough day.
Absolutely. It is not a fun day either. It is a hard day.
No, it is not a fun day. So I think that this is really, again, it's preparing you for the stylist role. If we're unable to take ownership over the salon space and the people that are in that space, and we're unable to successfully care and support for the stylists while we're learning from them, how on earth are we going to be able to support and provide for our guests one day?
It's a good way of looking at it.
Betsy, whether I've been in an ownership role, a management role, an assistant role, or a stylist role, it's always been the same intention, which is how can I support others? This is what it always goes back to, right? Successful assistants can really, really flawlessly begin to learn how to support the rest of the team. Amazing stylists can flawlessly and really, really strongly support their guests. And incredible and inspiring salon owners can support their whole team in that same way.
I agree. By really owning up to your mistakes and being open to learning from everybody, which includes accepting constructive criticism, which is very different than just criticism, but knowing when you have made a mistake, knowing why you made that mistake, and then moving forward from it so you don't repeat it is a huge part of that growth process to get you to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you guys, none of us know it all, but if we are at an entry-level position, we definitely don't know it all.
No. Even if you think you might know it all, you really don't. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Do any of us really know?
No, nobody really knows.
We all are figuring it out, you guys. But I think that, again, going back to like, we live in this merit-based culture and society, and I think it's great because it really outlines for people in a really kind of goal-oriented way, if this is how you decide to move forward in your career, what are the steps I need to do to get to the next step? And beginning in a new salon or beginning with a group of new stylists, you know, the longer that you are an assistant, if the salon is not giving you the opportunity for growth, that is a different story. But I think that becoming the best assistant means knowing my place, knowing my purpose, knowing how I can serve others, being prepared, being on time, never saying no, and assuming the responsibility of I am the backbone of the salon.
So as the backbone of the salon, Britt, do you want to go into depth a little bit and talk about what kind of tasks and duties an assistant might take on a daily?
Yeah, absolutely. This is really dependent on the salon, but it can range from cleaning, organizing, inventory, laundry, to, you know, greeting guests, checking out clients, styling, shampooing, aiding in retail and service sales just by supporting the stylists that you're working with, making recommendations to guests, sweeping, getting beverages, wine, coffee, cutting foils, mixing color. You guys, there's a lot on that list. There's a lot on your checklist. And depending on the salon, my hope is that all of you guys end up at a salon where it's very clear cut for you. For me, for example, you know, every day our assistants at Palms, they have a daily checklist, and it makes it really easy just to hold everybody accountable to checking off their tasks. Betsy, when you've been assisting, what was really helpful for you?
So when I first started out assisting, I would get a daily task list. So like what my morning duties were, what my evening duties were before the salon was closing, and then what I should be keeping up with during the day, besides supporting the stylist that I was working with. And I feel like that really helped outline what needed to be done to the point where I would just automatically start getting it done and I wouldn't need that task list anymore. And then from there, learning how the flow of the room worked, starting to work with different stylists, learning how they work, what their needs were. So whenever I was paired up with a specific stylist, I would know, okay, well, this client is coming in, so they need this, and that. Let me just get it prepared for them to just start going. And I think that really elevated me to the next level. It elevated their work because they were already set. They were able to trust me and count that I would be able to get everything done for them so they can just work.
And Bets, when you did begin assisting, would you say that you started really getting more education out of your experience and your time with those stylists when you could perform with very little direction given to you? Or were you learning from the second that you stepped foot into that role?
So I think for me, it was a little mix of both. When I first started, it was really, okay, I need to learn my tasks as an assistant first. And then once I learned that, it was, okay, let me go ahead and start learning how all of these stylists that I'm working with now like to work alongside an assistant. For me, it was constant learning experience. It was just learning my different tasks in a different way.
Yeah, and for me, I had a similar experience where I think what Betsy's really conveying here is that like her perspective, right, was I'm here in this position because I am here to learn, but she also understood that she had to get these tasks done if she wanted to continue learning.
Exactly. Once the stylists that I work with, the bosses that I had, were able to see how much I've been progressing, then they started giving me more tasks, more responsibilities, more duties to help the flow of the entire salon, which allowed me to continue to learn. I got paired with one of my mentors that to this day I absolutely love and cherish our time together because he taught me so much.
Yeah, and I think that's really the golden nugget, you guys, is Betsy became irreplaceable to her mentor. And if she had never gotten that recognition from the top that Betsy was becoming like that lead assistant in her salon, she would have really never had the opportunity to learn from the mentor that she had there.
Absolutely.
So if you're cleaning the toilet, you're taking out the trash, you're sweeping up the hair, and you're doing the mundane, and you're starting to begin to feel that it does not matter, we really hope that what you can take away from this episode, you guys, is that it's not the task itself that matters. It's the ability to get it done efficiently so that you are in a position to allocate more of your time and your energy into learning more. How quickly can you move through this? And that's where me and Betsy really want to support you guys in. Like, it's going to be hard at first. Slow down. Slow down. Your career is not going to take off without you.
I promise you will be there when you spread your wings.
Yep. And when you're ready, you will fly. Until then, we're where we are, often for a reason, and we hope that you guys can find the silver lining in that moment. We hope that this episode really put into perspective exactly what the assistant role entails and how you guys can become the best assistant. Reach out to me and Betsy. We are happy to help you guys.
And it makes you excited to continue your growth.
All right, beautypreneurs, we have cut through the bullshit for today. Go get them, assistants. We are rooting for you. And if you need any help, let us know.
Until next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.